Hello and welcome to my video on computing summary statistics using the TI graphing calculator. The data set that I have presented before you is the age of presidents at the time of their inauguration. And here we have 44 pieces of data. So what I'd like to show you to do is to enter the data into the calculator. And once we have the data entered into the calculator, how to compute summary statistics rather than using some of the long formulas, especially when it comes to computing the variance and the standard deviation. So to enter the information into the calculator, just let me pull my calculator up here. First we have to turn our calculator on. And then to enter the data into the calculator, we will press the Stat button. So the Stat button is right here. And then we choose Edit because we want to put information into the calculator. So we're going to use L1 for our data. And when you get to Chapter 10 on bivariate data, you will use L1 and L2. And there's some benefits for just using L1. So if your screen does not look like mine with L1, L2, and L3, or you accidentally delete one of these lists, if you press Stat and then choose menu option 5, Stat Setup Editor, and then press Enter, this will set up the statistical editor for you. So again, go back to Stat and then Edit, and now you should have L1, L2, and L3 just in case you didn't have them before. If you have data in L1, to clear the data out, just arrow up to L1 and press the Clear button and then Enter, and everything is gone. So now what we need to do is enter the data into our calculator, and that's all we really have to do is just starting with the first age here, 57, and then press Enter. So continue on with number 61, 57, 57, 58. And now what I'm going to do, and maybe you might want to do this as well, rather than boring you on entering this, I'm going to pause the video and enter the rest of the numbers. So at this point, if you will press pause to pause the video and then continue after you've entered the data. Okay, I have my data entered, and it's always a good idea, and I've already done this, but to scroll back up to the top of your data set and verify that the numbers that you entered match the numbers that you were given. Again, I have already done this. If you haven't done this, you may want to pause the video now and go ahead and double check and make sure your numbers are entered. Okay, so now to compute the summary stats, this is really easy to do. If you just come over here to the Stat button and then come over here to the Calc button and then choose single variable stats, this built-in routine is now waiting for you to tell the routine what list the data set is in. If you don't supply the list, then the calculator will automatically assume L1. You can, if your list is in list 2 or list 3, then you just come down here and tell it which list you're in. So for example, if the data set was in L3, then you just go second and then key button, because right here in yellow it says L3, and that's the list. But our data set is in L1, and if you don't supply L1, the calculator will automatically use L1. So all we have to do now is press Enter. And this comes back and gives us all the summary stats that we can compute for the most part. First, we have X bar, So this tells us that the mean is 54.66. And then there's some summation symbols down here. But notice the next is S. This S is the sample standard deviation. And this sigma is the population standard deviation. Since we are dealing with all the presidents, the ages of all the presidents in the United States, this is a population data set. So this X bar really translates to mu. So mu is 54.66, or according to the rounding rules of the author, we would go 1 decimal place past our data, so we would actually write back 54.7. And if this was a sample, then we would report back 6.3. But since we have a population, we will choose sigma. Again, these are the two that you have to keep straight in your mind. When you're working with a sample, use the S. When you're working with the population, you can report back sigma. The only difference between these two is the divisor for S is n minus 1. And the divisor for sigma is n. And notice the arrow says that we have more information. So n is the sample size of 44. And then here is our 5-number summary. We have the minimum is 42. The first quartile is 51. The median is 54.5, or Q2 if you will. Q3, the third quartile, and then the maximum. So again, to compute the sample statistics without having to use some of those long drawn out formulas, just enter the data in the calculator and then go stat, single variable stats, and you're all done. So I hope this brief tutorial is helpful to you in computing summary statistics.